All right, we are live. Welcome to Fish North Georgia's Tuesday Nighter. We're so glad you guys could join us tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you click that like and subscribe button and click that notification bell. And if you're watching at a later date, we love you too. And make sure you follow Fish North Georgia on all our social media platforms. We got an absolutely fantastic show for you guys tonight. We got what I call a living legend. Guy that's been around, has seen it all, and probably has a very good opinion on what's going on right now. We're going to pick his brain. Oh, I thought you wanted something real quick.
No.
I thought you was. I'm in the middle of my damn intro, and you like. So we got Dion Hibdon here tonight, and listen, we've been looking forward to this. Ken and I have been talking about trying to get him on for a while, and so he's going to join us. But I got Ken Pruitt right here to my left, and we got old Ryan Sheffield back there, locked up in the corner back there with us tonight. So appreciate him doing emergency work coming in and running the board. So guys, hang with us for 2 hours. Nobody gives anything about that debate going on tonight. We all know what's going to happen there. So you stay tuned with us. And let's bring Dion in real quick and just see that pretty mug right there, that beautiful face. There he is right there. So
I was really worried there for a second with that big awkward pause. I thought, oh, hell, he's already forgot my damn name.
No. I thought Ken,
there for a minute.
Listen, at the corner of my eye, I caught Ken, and I thought he was trying to get my attention for something because I have been known to absolutely mess up an intro. So anyway, Luke Turner, what's up, guys? Hey, listen, remember, if you're watching tonight and you got a question or a comment for Dion, make sure you put it up there. And we're going to ask him everything that you guys want to know. So it takes, everybody's got to get through the commercials on YouTube. So they'll be joining us here in a minute. But Dion, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. I've been doing fine. Everything's going good in Missouri.
In Missouri. Now, listen, we talked about the beard that you had, though, and when you come on tonight, you got the old goatee going. The pictures that I was looking, you had a full-grown, it was out there.
I play Santa Claus every year. I mean, most people don't realize, but my wife's an elementary school special needs teacher, and I am Santa Claus when it comes to. And trust me, you grow one out, and they go to tugging on it, then they realize, hey, that's real deal.
Yeah,
you can put the fear of God in them little old kids.
Oh, I bet that would be fun. I'd have too much fun with that. Well, tell your wife we appreciate what she does. 100% right there. So, I am going to let Ken ask the first question tonight because, he is like a kid at Christmas. I'm serious. He's got pages of notes right here, but he's
I've known him a while.
You've known him,
Yeah.
but he has told me it's been 2 months at least. You've been like, we got to get Dion on here. We got to get Dion on here. Danny, you're going to love him as much as anybody you've ever had. So with that, I want you to ask Mr. Hibdon his first question of the night.
You didn't tell me you're doing this.
I didn't. I'm throwing that shit on you right now.
I like when you guys throw each other under the bus, without even knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens every week. So
that's it, man.
We're gonna go with it's getting cooler.
Uh-huh.
And the fall transition before we get into the other pages of stuff here.
Okay. You got the first question.
So we got the crazy herring that we don't have at Lake of the Ozarks.
Right.
It's a different deal. And actually, I got two questions. I got.
Are you asking me or are you asking him?
I'm asking him.
Well, quit looking at me.
So when I lived in Missouri, there's ways you fish docks like at Lake of the Ozarks. But when you come down to Lanier, not all the guys are fishing the docks like you did at Lake of the Ozarks. Is there something that you would do different if you came to Lanier? And we got the herring and the spotted bass and all that.
I'm gonna tell you more about the herring than probably anything. I've actually done pretty good on those herring lakes in a couple of ways of doing it. Like at Lake Murray, I had a top 10 in that Forest Wood Cup, and then at Lanier, I had a top 10 at that Forest Wood Cup, and as your sidekick that's sitting there, he followed me for a couple of days. And, if you're going to be out there chasing those herring and with those herring, you got to understand everything's loose. Okay. And there's one other way to combat those herring. Go away from them. Go dirt shallow, go further up in a river than those herring actually go. Those herring want to be around deeper water. Okay. Now I'm sure they live a little bit everywhere, but they're not big up in them creeks. Way up in the very tail end of them creeks, rivers, stuff like that, you can get away from them. Like at Lake Murray, I was going so far up so far up that river, it turned into a creek. And I made the top 10, and it's nothing more than every now and then, especially with me, with my limited herring knowledge, my dad told me, he says, hell, just get away from them. Go where they don't live, And like I say, you'll talk to a lot of those locals, and you guys probably know better than me. But once you get around to where there's actually no deep water, you don't have as many herring. Then you're banking more on shad and bluegill and crawfish and stuff like that. And so when I go to one of them herring lakes, if it's easy, then shoot, it's easy. You throw a big topwater around or a fluke and you catch them. But when it's not easy, I get away from those herring because, excuse me, because it's just hard for somebody that's from another part of the world who doesn't have that bait fish to chase them around and do things a little bit different. I have found that when I am around those type of lakes, I also don't let my jig get to the bottom very often. Most of the time I skip it up under there and I kind of watch, my depth finder, kind of see how deep the shad are hanging out, and that's how deep I'm gonna probably work my jig out. And when I do that, I just throw some sort of swimming trailer on the back of my jig and skip it up under there, and then let it sink down 7-8 foot, and then I might start winding it out and just kind of swim it out, looking like a bluegill. And that's the only thing is, sometimes you can't let your stuff go all the way to the bottom around those herring, because that, I guess it's like crack cocaine to a fish or something. They really love those damn things. Fishermen hate them.
Yeah, they do.
Fishermen hate them because they just lead the bass around so bad. We have the same thing that happens here on Lake of the Ozarks, only it's with a gizzard shad. The gizzard shad are what the fish want to be around in the fall. And so, if you're not around those big shad, you're not going to catch bigger bass, But like I say, with your sidekick there that's in the studio, when he followed me around in that FLW championship that was here, that Wheeler won, I had a pretty decent tournament. Like I say, I think I finished 6th or 7th or something like that. And I did it 99% of the time, running as far up in the creeks and stuff as you could go, catching a few of those resident bass that don't even know what a herring looks like, bluegill eaters and shad eaters, and that's how I approached it. I knew that there was a lot of guys going to do, chasing those fish out in the open, and I just hoped that I could get a few of the right largemouth to bite me through the tournament to where I could compete. I couldn't win. I did not. After I started doing it and caught them a couple of days, then I realized, okay, I can't win. They're the big spotted bass and stuff like that. We're going to dominate things and beat me. And Wheeler did a lot of the same type of stuff, though. He kind of got away from the fish because he went way up in the river too. But nevertheless, that's how I combat it. I wish I could give you a better answer on them herring, but I don't like random fishing as much as a lot of guys. Some guys are all about it. They don't mind just going and waiting, fishing around, and you see the birds moving, you move out to them, you fish for them. You see it on your forward-facing sonar, you chase them around a little bit. But what a lot of people don't understand, now you guys do because you live among them, but what a lot of us that don't have a lot of those herring is it's not a shad. By no means. It doesn't act like a shad. It does not swim like a shad, like when a shad blows up or a fish blows up on a shad, you throw right to him. You throw right to where the fish blew up. When a fish blows up on a herring, you better pay attention to which way he's headed. And you better lead his butt out, a long ways ahead. And that's something that, it's just a different fish. You know, it's
Yeah,
a saltwater fish in a freshwater environment. Is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of, Chris Stubbs Angling said that's a very interesting way to approach a herring lake, which we talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people watch us because we are one of the few shows that talk about, a herring fishery. I know I got some buddies in Alabama and all around that, near out, what is it, Smith Lake out there that's got herring and all. They'll watch us, but you would be the first person on here to ever actually say you're trying to avoid them like that, and it makes a lot of sense, to be honest. You brought up, are you good at that question?
I avoid them. I might have not made myself perfectly clear. I avoid them because I show up to Lanier once a year, know, and I've got 6-7 days to get it done, and that's all I got, so I can't learn how to chase those herring, in 6 or 7 days. Sometimes you get lucky and you do, but
makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Now, are you over your nervousness now? I'll let you throw that first question like that. He's nervous, man. He got one of his heroes up here tonight. Like
did I answer your question good enough? Was that?
It was a great answer. Yeah. Absolutely. And what was interesting about it was, of course, the way you approached it differently. You were talking about he brought up the docks, and before the show, we were talking about, guys around here pitch docks, but up there, you said Lake of the Ozarks.
Yes.
Ton of docks, but you pitch them a little bit different. If you were approaching a dock are we deeper than Lake of the? I've never been to the Lake of the Ozarks.
It's got anything you want. So, but
how similar is it to Lanier?
There's spots down by like PB2 and stuff like that are similar, where you got the deeper water, but you can run up in the rivers and have, a lot of more shallower targets.
There's a reason that me and my dad always do good on Lanier. It looks just like Lake of the Ozarks. Yeah. I mean, very similar. It's got the variety. Yeah, a lot of rocky banks, a lot of sandy banks, a lot of clay banks, different stuff like that. Boat docks are virtually the same. You got floaters, you got some stationary ones. We don't have any real stationary docks here. Most of ours are all floaters. But, we got poles, around the docks and stuff like that. And the brush that people put in around them is a godsend. I mean, this is an underwater Toledo Bend. I mean, there's trees everywhere. And most of them are hand planted, put in by people off boat docks to crappie fish around.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now, I should have introduced you as the winner of the 1997 Bassmaster Classic, and then I should have talked about the 2000 FLW Championship. But one thing that's been kind of going through my mind is you have been around, again, I'm not calling you old, you've been around a while. We're the same age, and you've seen all these different lakes. Is there one lake that you fished on that you thought was better than any other lake in the United States? And is there one lake that you fished on that you thought if that thing just got drained, you'd be happy?
Oh, yeah, there's both. Yes, absolutely. I think the first time that I went to Lake Champlain, I think I actually found a school of fish that had never seen a man before. And I've actually done that twice there. And I finished second both times. That's a crazy thing. Right. But really, I really think that when we first started going to Lake Champlain before it got popular, that there was no doubt there was more smallmouth and more largemouth in there than any place I'd ever fished, and I pretty much fished them all for the most part, so, and then there's other places, you can't, the people around the Sabine River, they must just have a lot of money or something, because I can't feature going there for anything. And I can't say that I feel like that's my worst, I hate to condemn too many of them, but I'm not making Ross Barnett a vacation destination either,
I understand that.
I'm probably going to steer away from that any chance I get. And we've been to a lot of really, really awesome places over the years, but we've been to a lot of really crappy ones too, that thought they needed a bass tournament there, and the sad part about it is when you go to one of them real terrible places with a bass tournament and then it doesn't work, that's terrible for their resorts and stuff that they have around there, it happens every now and then. Every now and then everybody thinks, oh man, those guys are great. They can even catch them here. And we go there and they're like, uh-oh, that didn't happen good,
Right.
But it doesn't happen very often.
Do you still keep up with the elite schedule when it comes out?
No, not at all.
Not at all. So
I can't watch it.
He mentioned you what now?
I can't watch it.
Okay, so I guess I'm
when them boys stand and stare at their tennis shoes all day long, I can't watch that.
Well,
I got sick. I'll give you a little for instance.
Here we go.
I went in the hospital. On Christmas Day this year. And I was in the hospital for 30 days. And I was on a respirator for 10 of those 30 days. Really thought I was going to die, Needless to say, when I came out, my wife and my sons, they all rigged my phone up to where I could watch all the YouTube and all the Bassmasters and everything. And I found myself watching it for about 10 minutes. And then I would realize, okay, that's all I'm going to see. I'm done with that. And I turned it off. And the sad part of it is that's what's happening, and that's what's hurting our sport, is that it's not fun to watch.
It really is.
We worked for 30 plus years getting it to be a spectator sport. And now we're changing it back to something that nobody wants to see. Not at all. And it's just hard for me to watch. I show no interest in it. And my dad was one of the best finesse fishermen ever to live, and could take a spinning rod and 6-pound line and pluck your eyeballs out with it. I mean, and just make you think, okay, I got to pick it up. But this is different. And I'm not totally against it. I'm not totally against forward-facing sonar because it does have its place. But everybody has to realize what it's doing to the TV shows. It's just ruining them. It's not fun to watch, and I don't know how else to put it. I've been doing it a long time, 35 years. I've been fishing and I saw it. The crazy thing about it is my best friend is Peter Televeros from Florida, and we traveled together for over 30 years. And we talk about it a lot. And he said, we lived through the glory days. We lived it. We fished them. We were doing it when it was at its best. And I just hope that something changes in the right direction to where it can get back fun to watch on TV. Simple as that. Watching that guy catch 120 pounds on, 6-pound line and all you ever see is his back the whole time. You never look at anything, and the thing of it is they've got these poor commentators that work for Bassmasters that do their best to try to make it look better or make it act better. It was hilarious at the Bassmasters Classic to watch poor old Swindell and some of them guys talk it up and talk and make it act interesting for the show. And it's too hard. It's just too hard to do, And like I say, I watched a lot of fishing. I was sick. When you're standing, when you're laying down on your flat of your back, staring at 4 walls for 24/7 for a month, guess what? You watch a lot of YouTube, and like I say, it took me about I don't know 2 or 3 minutes worth of a show to realize, okay, I'm moving on, it's not the young guys. The young guys have nothing to do with it. We have forced them to do that. That's the deal. They don't have the experience that I have, and therefore they have to go another route to win tournaments. Okay. And the route that they are taking, guess what? They're better at it than I am, hands down. And my hat's off to them. That's awesome. But still,
that's what I was going to ask you that though about the age difference, because as far as social media goes, it always seems like there's guys, let's say 40 plus, and they just bash on all the young kids for the way it's but that's the way fishing is now. So but you just kind of said Yeah, go ahead.
I made the U.S. Bass Championship my junior and senior year of high school. Fished against Ricky Klung, Larry Nixon, Tommy Martin, Denny Brower, my dad, So I know what it's like to start when you're young. Okay, I started when I was 16 while I was still in high school. When I graduated in 1985, I started fishing BASS that fall, and I did it for many, many years. So I understand, and trust me, I got beat like a left-handed stepchild, when I first started.
What the hell's wrong with left-handed kids? I'm left-handed.
Better yet, red-headed left-handed stepchild.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Right there.
And the thing of it is, I understand their pain, and I understand how bad they want to do well and everything. And like I say, my hat's off to them. They have mastered this. The crazy thing about it is our whole sport is in turmoil. And the sad part of it is it's only because of about a dozen guys. Right. About a dozen guys, and that's it. Well, we have to figure out, wait a minute, a dozen guys can't run our whole sport. We have to be flexible, and we have to be like we have been for many, many years. We have to make it to where it's fun, where it's fun to watch, where people want to come, where people want to show up to the weigh-in and stuff like that. And it's hard, it's hard right this very minute. And I don't have the answer. I'm going to tell you right now, we could talk about it all night long, and I'm not going to. I don't have the answer of what's going to make it better. But I do know one thing. There ain't no heroes. There's no heroes in the sport anymore. They're going by the wayside. And it's hard to watch a bass tournament when you don't know who to cheer for, and yep, everybody's got their favorites. But to watch the Bassmasters Classic this year, the final day weigh-in, that was just sad. It was hard to watch. I mean,
that's a very, very interesting take when you talk about the heroes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like NASCAR. You used to have Earnhardt and all them back, and ever since then, it just seems like that hero figure is gone out of NASCAR. Yeah. You got guys you root for, but there's no supervillain. There's no, the good guy kind of hero thing. I never thought about that.
You didn't have to like Iaconelli, but you had to respect him because he had a presence.
That's right.
It's no different Gerald, Skeet Reese, Kevin Van Dam. You have to respect those guys. They're awesome, and like I say, we've lost that wow factor about bass fishing right now. And like I say, I don't know how to get it back. That's the thing. I know they don't want to see my fat old gray ass anymore.
Oh, hell, I'll look at it. It's all right.
Well, I know. But that's the thing. I still have people that want to see me do well and want to see me fish.
Right.
But it's just different now. It's totally different from the way it used to be, and I just hope it comes back.
Yeah. I want to hit now, Fred Ashcraft. I'm gonna get to your question in a second, but I want to hit Tony's comment real quick while we're talking on this subject. Right there. All right. I heard a good comment today. Back in the day, we only got to see the highlight reels. Now we get to see the full 8 hours, and it's not all catching. Anglers must make it interesting. Now, that is kind of true. Back in the day, we just saw the 30-minute or the 1 hour show. Now we've got live the entire time. What do you feel is the angler's responsibility during that time? He's trying to catch fish, but he's also got to be an entertainer. And that's kind of a little bit unfair to the angler, don't you think?
Yeah, it's hard. 8 hours, them filming you 8 hours. Now, see, I don't mind the live as bad as I do the regular show because I got news for you. It's just like watching a NASCAR race. It's cool until somebody crashes. When somebody crashes, everybody wakes up and looks, and there's nothing more I enjoy than watching the wheels come off of somebody's day when they're out there fishing,
He's sitting back like that guy sucking it up.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. And what I like to see is if that guy can recover. Can that guy bounce back? You lose a 6-pounder here, you pick up a top water and you catch a 5, what does it take, for that guy to get back in the groove? And it doesn't, it doesn't bother me to watch it, but 8 hours is, let's face it, that's too much. That's too much for, because there's just too much of that time that you're just not seeing anything that's impressing you. And another thing, a lot of these young guys, they don't give seminars, and when I say that, when I started fishing, fishing was a small part of it. You have to be able to speak in front of people. And I tell you what, that's gone by the wayside. And because that's went by the wayside, now you have a whole bunch of young guys out there that really are not used to talking in front of the camera. And I that's just the way it is. I can't sugarcoat it. I wish I could. But back
when we had the Classic at Bass Pro, that was when Johnny had only like one or two.
Right.
All the seminars that those guys had to do, and then Dion and them might be over at Sport Boats USA, and you'd see people drive an hour and a half to hear them talk and listen to them for an hour. But like these younger guys, it's just like a little quick YouTube video or something like that. So
that's right. It's a 2-minute.
But like the hero part of it, like literally, I would see any pro you want to see when Johnny had one store, and there was just a handful of guys. And Dion and I got a mutual friend. We call him Stick because nobody can pronounce his last name. But Guido was one that I was like afraid to walk up to because I literally
the aura and everything.
Yeah, I was like, and those conversations once I got to know him, what he taught me, and I still use that stuff to this day about what are they eating, how big, what size is it, how are the bass reacting to it. I still use that on Lanier.
But you were scared shitless because he's such a big.
I had to have Steve tell me, you want to introduce me because
yes, that's what.
But I had that much respect for everything.
Yeah, my dad was the greatest guy you'd ever been around, because there was nobody he wouldn't talk to. And when I say that, I'm not saying, anything negative about it, but anybody who walked up to him, if you want to talk about fishing, let's talk. Let's talk about bluegill fishing. Let's talk about crappie fishing. He just wanted to talk about fishing, and but yes, he was larger than life.
That's awesome.
So I got this thing you need to see. This is what your dad did probably 30 years ago after I got to know him. He walked me around the store, and I said I wanted to learn how to skip. And this was after you guys had changed rod companies, but I kept this rod, if you want to show that. And that is his old skipping rod.
Pull me up right there. There you go.
And he'd shoot me for seeing that small reel on there because that means I didn't listen to him.
That was before braid. That was before braid.
Yeah.
But it was old skipping rod, Tennessee handle. I got hockey tape on
it.
I've had that rod for 30 years.
Ain't that so?
And Guido walked me around the store and told me this is everything you need. And that was.
But you don't get that with today's angler.
No.
And I think that's a big point that he's trying to make. And I would say Ken and Ryan both in there keep up with pro bass fishing more than I do. Now, Ryan, do you have a hero from the past and a hero now? Is there anybody that exists right now that fits that description?
Not really.
Not really. Who was your hero from the past?
A bunch of them.
Well, give me one.
A bunch. Well, it's hard to say because there were so many of them that like I watched like old videos of that. Like I saw what they did and like I wanted to emulate them. There's your word, Danny.
They emulate. I didn't know that was.
But I wanted to emulate what they did, and I wanted, I saw guys like Guido and Dion and Kevin Van Dam when he was 21 years old in 1991 and stuff like that, and seeing them do stuff, and I was like, what they were doing then you fast forward it to 2010 or whatever, before the age of technology really started booming, and it was like, well, they rode the horse that they came in on, and they're still on it to this point in day, and they're professional fishermen.
Right.
So, Kevin, no offense, but Kevin Van Dam's probably, most guys that know me, he's kind of my idol.
Okay. That's fine.
Because I like to power fish so hard, that's just the way I like to go.
Well, who's going to, okay. So Ryan says Kevin Van Dam. What would you say, Ken?
I'd say Guido.
Guido.
honestly.
Okay. Do you see anybody in today's sport that would even come close to being able to replace them?
No.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because you're losing that connection.
Well, I mean, can you anybody can name the top 5 entertaining anglers you've seen in the last year? Like, Patrick Walters does a good job. I mean, he's forward-facing sonar, but
He's got a cute butt and wears the short shorts too.
Yeah, he needs to fix his mustache. but at least he talks through it when he does it and when the camera's on. But there's not what we had before.
Right.
And I think the tournaments are different. And so, like, there's a tournament circuit that Dion and his dad would fish called the Central Pro-Am.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that thing was ran and the tournament director, Ernie, I mean, there was no gray areas. It was, but pros came to it. You had locals that were great. Amateurs got a chance to fish with, like, the guys that they looked up to.
Yeah.
And you just don't see pro-ams like
I
that
got
anymore.
you. I got you.
And you can fish with Dion.
Like he was saying, and Ernie would disqualify his mother if she broke a rule. She was gone. Simple as that.
I love it.
And that's something that's another big thing. You know what? If these kids are doing something wrong and they need to get a lie detector test, they broke a rule. Simple as that. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you got protested and it's proved that you got protested, there ain't no need to give no lie detector test. You know, penalize them.
I watched Ernie kick my boater out of the organization to never come back.
They kicked your boater out.
Yes.
For what?
The guy missed his wife and he dropped me off on the dock and said, I'm just going to go ahead and drop you off. We ain't going to finish the day. And I walked up the hill and Ernie was quick. He was like, what are you doing here? I said, he said he was missing his mom or his wife and he dropped me off. And I had to walk up this big ass hill to go to the park. And he immediately got on the cell phone, said, don't ever come back.
That must be some good stuff he had at home.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think he's on the road a lot. But like when we had that Legends tournament at Bass Pro, I think Jimmy Houston and somebody else were talking, and Ernie literally said, if you guys don't sit down and shut up, you ain't fishing tomorrow.
Really?
He didn't care who you were.
Jimmy and Roland.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Roland.
He told him to sit down and shut up.
He told Roland Martin.
He said, if that blonde hair don't calm down in the back, you guys can go home now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, I wish we had video of that now. I know videos killed a lot of things, but I'd like to see some of the ass chewings that actually do take part.
Yeah. I mean, that organization, that one should be copycatted.
Yeah.
And what was that organization again?
Central Pro-Am.
Central Pro-Am.
But you need a
Central
tournament
Missouri
director.
Pro-Am. It was actually the first Pro-Am, amateur, pro with an amateur in the back of the boat, and you paid a different entry fee. It's what got everything started, for the most part, whatever. That's another thing in our sport right now, taking the amateurs out of it, the co-anglers and stuff like that. What everybody doesn't understand and where they miss it. And my dad told FLW and BASS when he was on the advisory board, he said, you guys eliminate those co-anglers. He said, you're cutting your throat. He said, guess what? He said, pros don't buy fishing tackle. He said, pros don't buy boats. He said, but that guy in the back of the boat that you take out and spend an 8-hour day with, and you teach him a little bit of something, he's going to buy everything that you use. And now you don't have that. They've eliminated these co-anglers out of a lot of these tournaments, and that's a big mistake.
That is a hell of a point.
Right there. That's business.
Yeah.
You think about it. There's 111 guys on the Elite Series. They don't buy fishing tackle. No, they do this. They say, here, I need you. You owe me. Give me some fishing tackle. But those co-anglers that used to watch and learn how to fish out of the back of the boat. And the crazy thing about it is it changed because of about 8 or 10 real young guys. And, they thought, the big deal was, if Tiger Wood, played up there and had an amateur hit it in for him. That's bull crap. That's not the way it works. If you can't catch that fish in front of that guy standing 20 feet behind you, you don't deserve to have it. Okay. and they know
how you feel.
they know when they get in the back of my boat, guess what? You're going to get seconds at best. So do your best and be quiet. Don't give me a hard time about it. Have I drawed bad amateurs? Absolutely. I've drawed guys that bitched and moaned the whole day. Well, I can't believe you're fishing boat docks. And I'm like, well, I can't believe you didn't pay a bigger entry fee and take over the front of the boat, and that's the way you have to put it. Hey, I paid big money to take over the front of this boat,
I love it.
I say, the advisory board let a few guys make the decisions and take out of professional fishing co-anglers, and that's dumb. That's dumb.
If you took the back of the boat and just took it to learn. So Dion will know this name. There was a guy by the name of Dave Barker that could fish a wiggle wart. And if you watch really closely how he fished that, you could go take a rock crawler today or whatever you want to throw and catch fish exactly like that guy said how to do it 25 years ago. But you had to pay attention. The entry fee was not to go win the tournament as a co-angler. I mean, if you got lucky, you got lucky. But you were there to learn it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I bought more freaking wiggle warts after that 2 days of fishing than.
So you were one that asked us that he was talking about. You went out. You're the consumer at that point.
That's what I was
Ryan, real
ask.
quick. Ryan,
go ahead.
Real quick for you to do that, guys. If I miss your question for Dion in the comment section, because listen,
I'm keeping tabs.
Are you? Because this guy can talk, and I like it.
tabs.
I'm sitting back. I'm not having to steer the conversation. I love when I get this. But if we do miss it and I don't get back to it, make sure you please come back around and put it back in. Now, Ryan, you had something to say?
Yeah, so this would be a question for Dion. It's talking about the whole co-angler thing. In your opinion, has the illusion of being in the back of the boat and winning, has that overshadowed what the reality of the whole beginning of the co-angler thing started for, was to be able to get in a boat with a pro, and fish and learn something and experience something that maybe you've never done before or fished like before? Because you mentioned the guy, Dion, about you got guy, I can't believe you're gonna fish boat docks all day. It's like, well, you should have paid more money and been in the front of the boat. Do you think that that's kind of got lost now in the past like 10 years or so, where it's like co-anglers fish to win? And we should always fish to win, don't get me wrong, but the co-angler side of it, it's more, hey, I'm about to go fish with Dion Hibdon and I'm going to get a dock skipping clinic.
If you
elaborate on that, maybe your opinion on that.
If you get in the back of the boat and you intend, if you're using your truck payment to get in on the co-angler side, and you got to make a house payment at the end of the week with what you're going to win, you're probably going to be homeless real quick. Because you're not going to get lucky and draw the right guys every time. You have to go with the attitude that you're going to learn something, and it's going to make you a better angler. And somewhere down the line, you might get on the front of the boat. There's lots of these guys that are fishing now that I fished with when they were co-anglers out of the back of the boat, and they're very successful now. And it's nothing more than, you got to use it for what it is. It's a learning tool. It's not, are there professional co-anglers? Absolutely. But those are guys that have money that doesn't matter. But if you want to get out there and learn how to catch a fish, go see a guy do it in action, in the heat of the battle. Okay. I can only give you seminars to do so much with you. But you crawl in the back of my boat at Lake Lanier and I'm in the top 10, guess what? You're going to get to see stuff happen. Good, bad, and the ugly. You're going to get to see it all happen on that day. Now, it might not be your best fishing day that you get to go out, but you're going to learn what it takes. How we go for it, how we try to win, how we try to make fish last for 4 days, stuff like that, patterns and stuff like that. In this day and age, you really don't have that. Would I be a judge or one of these guys that a marshal? Only if my dad was still alive. I would pay to go watch my dad fish one more time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. There's nobody else on the planet that I would care to go and spend that money and go be a marshal and sit in the back of that boat. you know, because in this day and age, those guys don't even talk much. They don't just converse back because he doesn't have to sell you on what he's doing. When I grew up, I still fished invitationals for the most part. I made the Bassmasters Classic like 9 times or something like that, and 6 of them was out of the invitational circuit. So I was fishing pro on pro. Guess what? I learned how to talk to people, and I talked to my partner. I'm like, hey, bud, you know, are you catching them? Are you on them? You know, and you learn how to converse back and forth with another human being, and you know, get the truth out of them. Like, hey, you know, hey, I think I'm catching them better than you, you know, and very few times did I ever have to have trouble with using my own boat or something like that, because if you were on him better than him, he'd be stupid not to go with you, you know. And I drawed some of the heaviest hitters, you know, that in the world, you know, and still worked it all out, you know. I drawed Jay Ellis like 4 times. I drawed Gary Klein 3 times, you know, and we worked it out. We caught him every time, you know. But it's because we discussed it. We talked about it. Now that just doesn't happen. You know, it's all me, and that's it. You know, and that's all the focus is. You know, and that's fine. You know, the way it is right now with no co-anglers in the back of the boat. You know, I still get out there and I have a hard time not talking to the guy in the back of the boat. You know, I'm going to explain what I'm doing. You know, why I'm doing it, and I don't care if he's fishing or if he's actually just sitting there watching. You know, I'm still going to explain it because that's the way I was brought up. You know, how are you supposed to go out there and spend 8 hours in the boat with a guy and not get to know him a little bit and not teach him a little bit of something? You know, he's doing you a favor. That. He's doing you a favor by sitting in the back of the boat, you know, and treating nice. And have I had amateurs that hindered me? Yep. And for the most part, all you got to do is tell them, hey, dude, that's not going to fly. If that don't work, you know, then, you know, do your job and catch all the fish in front of him and send him home crying. I don't care. But and that's going to happen every now and then. But hell, boys, man up. You know, I think the internet's one of the worst things that's ever happened, because what it does, it allows all these fishermen to bitch and complain at each other like a bunch of little brats. And I'm not saying that all the young guys. I'm saying that it's the old guys too. The old guys get on the internet and they're back and forth and they're fighting back and forth. You know, back when I was young and started, you know, you took care of that stuff at the weigh-in. You know, you walked up to a man and you looked him dead in the eye and you said, hey, dude, this ain't going to work. You know, and if you had troubles with him, you know, I forget what it was, the deal with Brian Thrift's little buddy that washed off a fish, you know, that took his trolling motor and spooked the fish away.
Brian knew.
They bitched about that for 2 weeks on the internet. Do you have any idea how many times I've done that in my life? If I'm not going to catch him, I'm damn sure not going to let that guy that's fishing in there with me catch him. You know, that's just stupid, you know. But they act like that, oh my gosh, you know, that's terrible, you know, how unruly, you know. Well, you didn't grow up when I grew up. I can tell you that right now. Dion Hibdon would have done it and went, ha ha, you know, as he drove by you as he was leaving, you know. But
let me ask you this though. How did you guys kind of take care of those things back in the day? Because I've talked to some of the younger guys, and I even talked to Gussie. When Gussie was on there, I asked him, like, you know, would you like it if the anglers could police themselves? And I think his answer was kind of like, he feels like it's almost been taken away from the angler today to be able to confront. And of course, everybody's got a damn cell phone. Everybody's videoing, just like what you said. Back in the day, let's just say you screwed up and somebody came up to you. I mean, how was that settled back in the day?
I can tell you right now, if I walked up to somebody and they wanted to film it, I'd say, hey, turn that cell phone on. I'm fixing to get ugly. And it would not have any trouble at all. Right. And the crazy thing about it is, my dad was the same way. My dad was kind of hard to get along with in some respects. But if it come to a fishing spot or something like that in a tournament, he was the fairest angler on the water, because he would, if you had every right to be there, you could be there. But if you didn't, don't stir up no shit, because he's going to put a stop to it.
Well,
simple as that.
I watched him call out somebody on a video. I was like, oh crap! But they were trying to play games, and he
wouldn't put up with it. Simple as that. And I grew up, you know, you either loved me or you hated me, one of the two. There was no in between on me, you know, because I just, you know, I watched my dad do it. I didn't put up with that crap. And if something happened to me out on the water, I confronted them. And I'm like, hey, boys, I don't think this is going to fly. You know, this is not going to work. And if we have to, we'll talk about it when we get to the weigh-in, because I don't like getting fired up out on the water. You know, nobody does. That just ruins your day. You know, that just ruins your whole day, you know. But, you know, I'm also not above walking up to somebody and say, hey, dude, yep, we got to figure this out. You know, and that's the way you did it. Simple as that. You just walked up and said, all right, we're going to have troubles if this keeps going the way it is, you know.
I got to ask. Can you give us an example of that?
Oh, Mike Iaconelli, in the first tournament he ever fished, I finished second on Lake Champlain. Well, I didn't finish second that year. I finished like third that year. But oh yeah, Mike come in on me the last day of the Champlain tournament, and I just told him, I said, dude, there ain't nobody been out here, nobody but me, you know. And I said, you're not going to stop and fish. And I stayed between him and the grass bed. I kept him run off of it. Well, I got a camera boat with me. I mean, the cameraman is in my boat filming, you know. And actually, Bob Cobb was there, and Bob Cobb said, Ike, is this the way this took place? And he says, well, everybody knows about this spot. I said, well, there ain't been nobody out here in 3 days. And I said, this is day number 4. And I said, you ain't starting out here today. And we had words. We got to the weigh-in. Guess what? We talked about it. And I told him, I said, I don't care how you found out about it. Don't give a rat's butt. And he left. And I ran him off, you know. But it was one of those deals. It was just wrong. You know, he found out somehow where I was at, and he decided he was going to try me, you know, and it didn't work out, you know.
Did you find that he respected you, at least when you or was he kind of confrontational with you?
Oh, he was confrontational with me that morning on the water.
Right.
Know? But I bled that right out of him pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, so when you got back to the weigh-in, his tone had changed a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. He won the tournament.
Oh, he won.
Yeah, he won the tournament. He wasn't unhappy at me. He was glad I ran him off, you know.
Yeah.
But it was what he was doing. He was young, first year, first crack out of the box, and you know, he just hadn't thought about it. You know, hadn't thought about it. And the rumors about my little old spot, you know, were pretty crazy, and it was true. And it was, like I said earlier, it was a spot where I'm not sure a jig had ever landed in it before, you know.
Right.
And it was full of 4-pounders and just one of those deals, you know. And somehow he found out about it, you know. I personally think it was my cameraman the previous day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: How about with you? Were you ever corrected by another angler? Can you give me an example of that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had guys talk to me, you know, out on the water, and if they were in the right, I left. Simple as that.
So you never had a confrontation with them or nothing like that? I want to say, let me rephrase that. How about like when you were younger, a more experienced angler coming to you saying, "Hey, listen, Dion, you can't do that," or would your dad just take care of it?
Oh no, my dad never had anything to say about me. No.
Okay. All right.
No, my dad let me handle everything I wanted to handle.
Well, I'm talking about your dad handling it with you. Like, I heard this, you don't need to be doing that.
Oh no.
Okay,
no.
Good. There you go.
No, trust me, I'm the fairest sumbitch that there's ever walked the planet when it comes out there on the water. You know, I love it. And it's one of those deals, you know, it's just a bass tournament. You know what? There'll be another one next week somewhere else. You know, that's and right. I never tarnished to say I didn't get into it with people. Absolutely. Yeah, I've gotten into it with people, but I was in the right as much as they were. Okay.
Gotcha.
You know, I felt like I was in the right. Now, they didn't necessarily like my opinion of it, but you know what? Sometimes you got to take into consideration, okay, maybe he did practice out here. You know, he seems to know a lot about it, you know, or something like that. Most guys just lose their head and really want to jump to conclusions. I always let somebody say something, and after they say something, then, I'm like, that's a lie, and I point that out to them really, really quick, and yep, over the years, it's happened 2 or 3 times. I've had guys I've had it in with multiple times, and it's nothing more than they want to test you. They want to push you a little bit,
I get it. I get it.
But it happens. It happens.
We had a question about your jig.
Okay.
And like what kind of jig? So if you can hold that one up there, I believe that is the Hibdon Hamner jig sold at
The what now? It's the
Hibdon
what?
Hammer, not Hamner.
Yeah, I thought he said Hamner.
Hamner won the Classic.
I know, like his ass ain't been drinking. I promise. Pop that on me, Ryan. Big Ryan, if you could. Yeah, well, we probably need to.
My accent's changed in 3 different states.
Yeah, okay, so that's about the best you can get right now. So that's the jig.
The Hibdon's hammer. The Hibdon's hammer was made actually for my wife. I know this doesn't sound right, but my wife got to fishing Thursday nighters with me. We got to fishing a few Thursday nighters, and Peyton had been using that hook. That's a little bit different Gamakatsu hook in that thing, and he had been using that in a shaky head. And my wife is 4'11", 110 pounds, can't jerk to save her life. I mean, just one of them deals. God bless her. She just does not know how to jerk. And we would fish Thursday nighters, and we go out there, and 99% of it for me is a 1-ounce jig. And she kept wanting to throw a jig. And
hold on a second. A 1-ounce jig?
Yeah, a 1-ounce jig. Yeah, fishing out
How
deep.
the hell do you? That feels like I'd just be dragging mud.
You're getting ready to throw one in Gunnersville in about 48 hours.
Okay, all right. So there we go.
I can't help it. I can't help it if you don't work out or whatever. That's not my fault.
Hey, listen,
if a 1-ounce jig manhandles you, you're in bad shape.
Okay, I just never thrown one.
But anyways,
I get over a half ounce. It's crazy.
We fish a lot of 25-foot water and 30-foot water and stuff like that. And in those Thursday nighters, we were kind of dominating things and catching them. Lawson was winning, I was winning, and we was fishing a jig. And so she wanted to throw a jig. And I told Peyton, I said, you need to put that hook, because the hook that he uses, really, you can screw up when you set the hook. If your rod's real high or if you got it on a slack line and you still hook the fish, that hook is just one of the better hooking setups, that you can throw.
Yeah. And you see that one camera on me that can do a close-up, that one view? I know we got a close-up camera. I'd love this, because this hook is shaped different. I'd like to see if we can figure out a way to. All right, I just got to figure. All right, pull that up.
Come towards your Coke bottle.
Hold it by your Coke bottle. You're looking the wrong way.
There
you go.
Right here.
Oh, there we go. So,
but anyways, my wife Peyton makes her a jig, puts that hook in a jig, a 3/4 ounce and 1 ounce in a head that she could throw. And the next Thursday night, I mean, shoot, she caught just as many as I did. She wasn't losing fish. She was catching them all. The head design, Peyton and Lawson come up with the head design, but we put that hook in it. And the neat thing about it, in all of them that we've sold around the country and everything, is when somebody walks up to me and the first thing they say is, wow, that really stabs them. And it just, for some reason, you get better hookups, and you hook a lot of those fish when you're out there fishing deep, where you used to catch about 60% of them, on a long cast, you catch about 60% of them. Now, I mean, I guarantee I catch 90% of what bites me out there, and her even using a 7.5-foot spinning rod with 20-pound braid and a 15-pound leader, and she still doesn't jerk, but she still catches probably 85-90% of the fish that bite her on it. And so we decided, okay, it's the hook, it works, and so we designed a head to fish out around brush and around rocks a little bit. It's not really a football, but it's also not really a brush jig. It's kind of a cross, and that's where it came from. You know,
Well,
my 110 pound, 4'11" wife came up with that. You know, that's why it's here. And
there's hope for me then, right?
yeah, that's right.
Well, I ain't much taller than she is. I got her on the weight though. I got her ass on the weight. But Ken brought those in before the show, and we were looking at it. And the first thing I noticed was the different shape of the hook. And I don't know if you guys could see it when I was holding it up, but it comes up a lot. It just seems like the angle of the hook comes up a lot quicker.
Yep.
It stabs them right in the top of the head 99% of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you very seldom hook one that's not in the top of the head. And that's where you want to hook them, day in, day out.
Hey, do you know a Randall Green?
I believe I do.
Randall Green's in the comment section. He says, "Hello, Dion." So we're going to pass that on to you right
How
there.
are you?
You know, a lot of guys, like I said, listen, one of the great things about this guy is he is making my job so easy tonight because he's just talking, and I'm not getting a chance to read a lot of your comments. And don't get me wrong, I see them, but I'm enjoying the conversation. And listen, this is Dion's show tonight.
We can go through some of them. Let's do a few of them.
Oh, hell. Okay, so let's see. I know the first question was from Fred Ashcraft, and he wanted to, it was comparing, or what was it like to win the Bassmaster Classic and then the FLW Championship, for, you know, being in two different organizations. I think that's what, pull it up right there. What was it like winning the Classic and the FLW Championship, ? And then both leagues? I guess you can kind of compare the leagues at that time.
Well, they both, I can't, they were both equally important for me. You'll never hear me run one or the other down because they were both vitally important to my career.
Right.
You know, the thing about the Bassmasters Classic and what was cool about it was, is that my mother actually went and pre-practiced with me a month ahead of the tournament. And so it was very, very cool for her to live through it with me. You know, forever, my mother was the wheels on the bus. Simple as that. All me and Dad had to do was go fish and catch a fish. And for some reason, Dad couldn't go practice with me. My sons were too young, and they didn't want me going down there and spending 6 days on Logan Martin by myself. So my mom went with me. And she's a whale of a fisherman too. She's very good fisherman. And she spent 6 days with me in July in Alabama on Logan Martin Lake. And I never caught a bigger bag of bass than she did any of the 6 days. In all of my 6 days of pre-practice, she caught a bigger stringer than I did every day.
Your mama whipped your ass on the water.
Oh yeah, and the last day, the last day I fished boat docks all day long. You know, intentionally trying to backseat my mother, and it didn't do any good. She still caught a bigger stringer than I did. But what was neat about it is when the tournament started developing and happening, you know, through the first day and then the second day, and just seeing her excitement about it, you know, how it was taking place. And she would remember spots and talk to me about it, you know, and, well, did you catch any out deep today, or did you catch them all under boat docks? And I mean, it was just fun to watch the excitement, you know, that she had also. And another neat thing about it, what a lot of people don't realize, that's the first Bassmasters tournament I ever won, was the Bassmasters Classic. I had never won the Bassmasters before that. So
that's pretty awesome. Now, let me ask you though, I think the story about your mom's fantastic. That's good shit. I mean, that is really good. Getting his ass whipped by his mama, and then she's checking on him every day. Did you go here? Did you go there? But at the end of the day, at the end of the tournament, you held up that trophy. And there's only a handful of people that's ever had the opportunity to do that. What was that like for you personally? Just kind of the emotions going through, you know, your mind and everything as you're like, hell yeah, the Bassmaster Classic.
Kind of a quick story. I you know, it was on Logan Martin. It was in the heat of the summer. I never weighed in largemouth bass. Every bass I caught was a spotted bass. You know, my 15 bass, you know, were spotted bass. And the crazy thing about it was the last day I went out and I caught two big ones to go with them, you know, two nice big 4.5 pound spotted bass to go in my stringer. And I caught one of them on my last cast. And when I say my last cast, I mean literally, I skipped under a boat dock, had already jerked my trolling motor up, and I catch a 411 or something like that on my last cast. And as I'm running in, I have to cull a fish. So I got my, and I'm out of time. I'm within about a mile of takeoff, but I am out of time. And my co-angler can't help me. Your press guy can't help you. So I get on plane, and I told him, I said, just make sure I don't run over anybody, because I got to make my way towards the weigh-in. And I open up the live well while I'm driving the boat, and I turn around and I'm filtering around, and I just get one and throw it out, a small one. And when I throw it out, I'm running right by David Fritz. And David Fritz is leading one around the boat. He's got a big one on, and he's leading it around the boat. Well, we can see him from the weigh-in where we're going to go to and stage to wait to go into town. And we get in, and I told my cameraman, I said, man, you missed out. And he said, why? I said, I just caught a big one. He's like, on your last cast? He said, hell, I didn't think you was even going to have time to cast. I said, yeah, I caught a big one on my last cast. And it was Amos Posthoke was my cameraman. And he was an Indian fella, and he just super nice, And I get in there, and I said, and everybody asked me, they said, well, did you catch him? I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And, it was within ounces, Dalton Bobo beat me by 1 ounce. And I said, the sad part of it is, I said, we got to sit here and watch Fritz for another 30 minutes. And I said, I just watched him catch a 6-pounder as I'm coming in. And so it's me, Denny Brower, Ron Sheffield, I forget who all was in the top 5, Dalton Bobo. And we're sitting there staged up on the dock. And every time somebody with a bigger weight would come in, one of those guys would go on to the weigh-in. One of the 5th place would go on to the weigh-in.
Right.
But they kept the top 5 in the water until last minute. Well, I knew I was going to finish in the top 2 or 3. But David had won Angler of the Year that year. So when he pulls in, he pulls in right next to me. And I said, I seen you catch a big one. He said, oh, it was a big one. And him and my dad were best friends. And I said, how big was it? And he said, oh, it's a 6-pounder. And I said, oh, that's awesome, And he said, yeah. He says, I got a 6, 1 good 3, probably a 3. And he said, then I just got 3 of them keepers. And I tallied it up in my head, and I thought, yep, you're short. I know I've got you beat, And
that's right.
And just from what he had the day before, unless he misguessed real bad on that 6-pounder, which he don't do, I thought, yeah, I'm going to beat you by about 10, 12 ounces. And needless to say, Doug Hannon is down there checking on the fish, doctoring the fish up before we head back and everything. And everybody was praising Bobo that, they thought he was going to win. And he did. He had a nice stringer largemouth, but the only problem with it was most of the largemouth were real skinny. They were big looking. When you look down in the live well at his fish, yeah, it looked like he had 15 pounds, and if he had of, he would have won. But Doug Hannon looked at him, and then he looked at Denny's fish, and he looked at Sheffield's fish, and then he came over to Fritz, and then he came over to my boat, and he looked in my live well, and he said, uh-oh, this is going to be a lot closer than I thought. And I said, just send me in. I said, I've been sitting here for an hour. I'm hot. I'm out of drinks. So we take off for an hour-long drive into the weigh-in. We get to the weigh-in, and it's still a cluster. There's 20 boats left to weigh in front of us. And so us 3 are at the very back of the pack, and it's hot. We're in a parking lot. Well, there's spectators. We're autographing stuff. There's spectators bringing us drinks. Bassmasters brought us drinks. First thing you know, we've been out there for an hour. We're out of drinks. And I mean, my fat butt's getting hot, And Trip Weldon comes out, and he says, okay. He says, we got to decide who's going in next. I raised my hand. I said, hell, take me. And he said, well, what have you got? And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care who wins. I said, I'm hot. I need to get a drink.
That's right.
needless to say, he crawled up in the boat and he looks at Fritz's fish. He's like, "Oh man, that's a big one," you know. And I already thought, yeah, he's not going to win. He come over into Bobo's boat and he looks in there and he says, "Oh, that's a pretty good stringer." And he climbs over in my boat and he did the same thing Hannah did. He says, "Uh-oh, that's going to be a lot closer than I thought." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is." But I said,
That's right.
"I'm volunteering." I said, "You ought to send Fritz in last because he's got a big one." I said, "Everybody's going to cheer big when he pulls a 6-pounder out of live well." I said, "Me and Bobo's the only two you got to think about." I said, "And I don't care." I said, "If you want to make a big deal out of the Federation," I said, "send him in after me. I don't care." I said, "I'm hot. I need a drink."
Right.
He says, "Okay, you're going." I said, "Fine with me." So I pretty myself up as best I can at 120 degrees on the pavement. I get as purdied up as I can do. They drag me in. I go in, I weigh in, I take over the lead. Well, as soon as I take over the lead, I walk off stage and I go straight to the bullpen where the drink fountain is. I'm standing there getting me a drink. Davey Height walks up and he says, "Well, you did good. You're in the lead." I said, "Yep, sure enough." I took a drink. Bobo weighs in and he comes up 1 ounce short. I get me another drink and I slobber it down as fast as I can. He looks at me and he says, "What do you think now?" I said, "I just won." And he's like, "What?" He said, "There's still somebody come in." I said, "Yeah, but I said, Fritz has done told me what he has." And I said, "I'm pretty sure I won." "Oh, hell, we got to go tell your dad." I said, "You can't tell him." I said, "There's 28,000 people in here. You can't go up there telling him I won." And he's like, "Oh, I got to do something." He just takes off like a shot, just gone. He takes off and he goes up into the crowd. And before Fritz even got to pull him out of the live well, my mom and dad was crying and I was crying, and it was bad. It was just complete utter chaos. But it was pretty cool. You know, it definitely changed my life, you know, forever. You know, the FLW, same way. You know, the FLW forever altered my life. It was a great win. You know, after my practice that I spent, I thought, you know, I told my wife at that time, I said, you know, if it takes 13 pounds a day to win, I'm going to win. I said, because I can catch that standing on my head. I said, it is not a big deal. And needless to say, caught 13 the first day in 6 casts. The second day, we had a cloudy day, and I actually caught 19 that day. And then the last day, I went back to my same spot where I started, and I broke a fish off, and then came back to it about 10 o'clock. And when I came back to it at 10 o'clock, I caught my last 4 keepers on 4 consecutive casts with a jig, and there was no doubt in my mind that I'd won, and because I was the only one that caught a limit the last day, so you know I was fairly assured I was going to win, but anyways, they were both equally exciting. You know, really, you know, I felt good about both of them. The only thing that you know, and it's not a regret. The only thing that I hate about it is that I didn't get to fish against my dad in either one of them.
Right.
And so as far as I was concerned, I didn't get to beat the best fisherman in the world. In those particular tournaments. Did I beat him in other tournaments? Absolutely. But in both of those tournaments, if he would have been in them, he would have been the one I would have had to have beaten. You know, that's just how precise everything really was, you know, and how I was catching them and stuff like that. So
that is awesome. So
I hated that he didn't get to fish either one of them. One, he had a little bout of cancer, missed the tournament. The other one, he had a heart attack and didn't make the championship. So, but
I can't imagine what that would have meant to you to actually get to fish against him in those, though. For sure, 100%.
I fished against him in lots of them. You know, the one that he won in '88. Yeah, I finished dead last in that one. We covered the spread on that one. He finished first. I finished 41st. So
there you go. You had both ends of the bookshelves. All right, you got a question for him?
I got a story that's just for you.
This story, now I've been told this is for me now, so let's hear it.
All right. So this has got to be 25, 30 years ago. At Bass Pro, you, Peter T, Kenyon Hill, and your dad walked in, and I was getting ready to walk up to your dad, and you said, hey, today he ain't in a good mood. And I said, what happened? He said, well, somebody put stickers on his boat. And it wasn't until like 2 years ago, he was on the 10 Horse Monty podcast. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this story. And I'm like, holy crap, that is what happened. And he tells the whole story. So knowing your personality, this is
for me. You got to tell me this story. I like a good one.
That little crew that you just talked about there, we're a buffet's worst nightmare. I can tell you that right now. We had people pay us to leave restaurants before. That's how bad we were on a Friday night after the tournament was over. But anyways, yeah, we all roomed together, all ran together. We were at Lake Norman. Peter T won the tournament. Peter T actually won the tournament. But me and Dad and Pete Kenyon and OT Fears was all staying at the same deal. Well, they traveled together on the way down there, and they were, like you do after you've been in the truck for about 7 hours. They got out in the truck stop and they plundered around and they were shopping for crap they did not need. And OT says, hey, look at this. And it's a pair of them, it's two of those chrome naked ladies, the outline of a naked lady that they put on mud flaps.
Oh yeah, I'm very well aware of those things.
Yeah. They bought two of those. And well, back then when you went through boat check, you had to go through the boat check, open your live wells up, and the tournament director looks in your live well and says, okay, shut them up. But you have to open it up. Well, takeoff back in them days was a big deal. I mean, you'd have 200 people on the end of the dock. There was times where they had to restrict how many people could come out there if they didn't have a good dock. But for the most part, a couple hundred people standing there right on the water watching you go through boat check every morning. Well, at Santee Cooper, OT Fears won the tournament. And the last day of the tournament, Kenyon Hill drawed my dad and actually fished with him. Well, we were staying pretty close to takeoff. Well, my mother, if nobody knows, my mother did all the backing. I don't think my dad could make his boat trailer go backwards ever. She did all of it. All he did was get in the boat and climb in, dummy. We're burning daylight here. Get in. And that's the way he would do it. But really for no reason, there's no reason to look in that live well at all. Well, Kenyon said, hey, Guido, you go to the truck. I'll go get the boat, because it was hot down there. And OT had just won, and we were excited to get to go to all-you-could-eat seafood buffet. That was big on our deals back then, I'm telling you.
Hell yeah.
Friday evenings was all you could eat somewhere, right, somehow. Mm. But anyways, so Kenyon has put these two chrome naked ladies in his tackle bag for the day, okay? And when Dad goes back to the truck, Kenyon goes down to his boat, and he sticks them on the inside of his live well lids.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, do you know the adhesive that they put those on to stay on a mud flap?
Well, yeah, they stay on a mud flap. That's some strong stuff.
Yeah, for millions of miles, they stay on a mud flap. So the fiberglass inside of a Ranger live well, guess what? Those ain't coming off. They ain't coming off. So needless to say, we go home, come to the next tournament, Lake Norman, first day of the tournament. Dad's going through the boat check, raises live wells up. Turn director says, whoo, what's that? Dad turns around, looks, and he's like, holy crap. I am going to kill those guys. There is no way he said, I'm skinning 2 or 3 of them guys when I get back to the house tonight. Shuts the live well lids down. And of course, the people on the boat dock say, hey, Guido, what's on your live wells? And
oh, yeah.
And my dad, you could do a lot of things to my dad. Don't jack with his bass boat. His bass boat was his, and you were not allowed. And needless to say, he goes that night. After that night, we fly out that Friday and go to Bass Pro. All of us had to fly out and go to Bass Pro to work for that weekend for the spring fling. And when Dad was trying to get those off, me and him both had the same problem. We bit our fingernails. We keep our fingernails bit off. He tore a fingernail loose trying to get those off.
Oh my goodness.
while he was fishing. So what our sidekick there sitting there next to you didn't realize, he probably had a big old Band-Aid over his fingernail. And oh yeah, and then had to ride on an airplane after fishing all day long with 3 guys that he was for certain one of the 3 of us had done it. I had nothing to do with it. I had to promise him when he was on his deathbed, Dad, I didn't do that. That was not me. It was one of them other jamokes, you know. And
are you saying he held a grudge a little bit? Did he ever find out?
Oh,
Did he find out?
It was terrible. He ordered new live well lids for his boat because when he took a chisel and got them off there, well, then there's a perfect little old naked lady outline of that white fiberglass tore off, you know. And so he had to get new live well lids for his boat. And oh man, that made him mad. So
did he ever find out who did it?
Oh, absolutely. Kenyon fessed up to him about 2 months before he passed away. And Kenyon says, I can't let that guy die not knowing. You know, and I said, oh, he's pretty sure. I said, he's necked it down to where he knows it's got to be you or OT. And I said, he knows you were in the boat with him. And he told me, he says, well, Kenyon, he says, well, I finally told him. And I said, how'd you take it? And he says, he cussed me. I said, well, what the hell are you talking about? He said, well, he could just barely talk, but he still cussed me. I'm like, yeah, you knew that was coming. And he said, well, I didn't want him doing it after he died, you know, like haunting me or something. And,
right.
But yeah.
How long of a time had passed between him putting those stickers on and admitting to your dad?
Oh, 10, 12 years at least.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, nobody broke down on. See, and really in the whole deal, I didn't know who did it. I knew they did it, but I didn't know which one of them got it pulled off. You know, because then we stayed together in cabins and stuff like that around the country. But then Kenyon explained it to me one day, and he said, "Man, I got to tell your dad." And I said, "Yeah, you better." And and he did. So
that's classic. Those are the kind of stories that we really like that a lot of people don't get to know about, the behind the scenes kind of thing.
We had a ball traveling together is a thing. I mean, those guys are as much my brothers as my own flesh and blood. You know, Kenyon and Pete and OT and all of them. We're family. You know, simple as that, and always will be. You know, that's like I say. I get off the phone with them just like I do my family. I tell them I love them and I'll talk to them later. You know, and that's just something that's, you know, that, you know, you say you got, you know, if you get one handful of good friends in your life, you know, that's all you deserve. And I damn sure I got one good handful, that's for sure.
That is awesome. I love that. Now, Ken has been telling me that there's another story.
We got a couple.
You got a couple. We're going to talk about Kevin.
Oh,
let's do that one because
you want to jump? Okay.
I want to jump to this one because we've got an old man, and actually Father Time, he's a great guy, Kevin Thornton, who sits on the in with us on the Thursday night live well. And a couple months ago, he talked about using the bathroom off the back of David Fritz's boat. Now, Kevin is an eccentric human being. His bass boat is pristine, perfect. It's one of the nicest ones I've ever sat in. When he has to go number 2, this old man will strip down, fold all his clothes, and hang off the back of his boat buck-ass naked. And he did that with David Fritz in a tournament somewhere. Now, what I have been – and we give him hell. But what I've been told is that you might even have a better story about doing that off a boat.
Hands down, I got the best pooping story ever, you know.
All right, let's hear it.
We were at Lake Murray in the MLF tournament here a couple years back. Me and Lawson and a buddy of mine, Joe Weberg, were all fishing the pro side of that, and we were staying together. And Joe has this problem. He's one of them ones that you hate to run with because he weighs about $110, $120, and he, you know, just skinny as a rail, but can eat like a damn horse. And the night before the last day of practice, we see a Chinese buffet. Okay, there should be a giant stop sign for bass fishermen. Do not enter. You know,
that's right. Yeah,
we go in and we overindulge, and the next day, my last day of practice on Lake Murray, and it was not easy. It wasn't great fishing, you know. I thought I was going to catch them, but it wasn't great. And so I'm headed up the river a little bit, and about 10 o'clock, you know, as will happen, about 10 o'clock, I think, ooh, I might have to go find me a bathroom, go find me a bare stretch bank. But I saw one on the bed, and I thought, oh, looky there, there's one, and it kind of took my mind off of it. So, you know, I got detoured, and I didn't take care of my business, and I went on fishing. And in this whole bay, there's 2 boat docks. That's it, 2 boat docks, 2 houses up on the hill, and I fished my way down the bank, and I seen another one. You know, there was a pretty nice fish on the bed, and you know, so I'm kind of getting excited now. You know, like, wow, this could work. And I've already bent the hooks down on Pop R as I'm running down the bank. You know, while I'm looking, you know, give myself something to do, and the thought of having to go to the bathroom has completely left my mind. You know, I'm just like, you know, I'm good. I'll make it for a little while. You know, I go around the first boat dock, and I'm in between them, and they're only about 30 yards in between the 2 boat docks. I make a cast up to the bank, and I go to pop my Pop R, and about a 5-pounder just clubs it, just whoosh, you know, eats it real big. And I pulled, and when I pulled, there's something about that takes your mind completely off of containing your faculties.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, uh-oh, I'm not going to make it. Threw my rod down, jump back to the console, and I go off of the passenger side, jerk my shorts down around my ankles, hang her over the side, and you couldn't have been any happier that I did not crap my pants. I was like, holy crap, I made it. I did not go in my, you know, I got clean underwear, clean pants. I did not have to change my clothes. I'm like, holy crap, life is good. You know, I get to going, I get done going, and I'm sitting there, and then I realize, holy crap, I'm in between 2 houses. But it's fairly early in the morning, about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I look up, and at no time have I seen another human being in this whole creek. But I raise up, still shorts around the ankles, butt hanging over the side of the boat. And I look up, and it looks like they're having a family reunion on the deck of this house.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, wow, I am really caught. And every one of them sitting there staring at me. I mean, there's 20 people on this deck, and they're all staring down there at me. So I just give them the old, I raise my hand. Every one of them, all 20 of them go.
Raise their hand.
And I'm like, okay, it's official. Absolutely, everybody's seen my bare ass, you know.
That's
so
classic.
I get up. Now I realize, okay, I'm about 10 feet from my toilet paper. So I'm like, holy crap, what am I going to do? So I reach out and I get my scissors, and they're in my little scissor holder, and I get down there and I go to gnawing off my underwear with my scissors. I cut my underwear off, wipe my butt, pull my pants up and everything. Over the hill comes this man about 70 years old. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm fixed to get my ass chewed, you know. And he gets about halfway down the hill and he goes, hey, Dion. I'm like, holy crap, he knows me. How can he know me? You know, I'm in South Carolina. How can he know who the hell I am? And he says, Dion, he says, I came to the Chevy Pro Night a couple of years ago, and he said, and when I seen that 10 cup boat pull in, he says, I got my binoculars out and I looked at it, and he said, I told my 6-year-old grandson that, oh yeah, that's him. We'll get his autograph. And he said, we were standing there at the door, and you came around the dock, and he said, I told him, and he said, then I seen you drop your rod. And he said, I know exactly what was happening. And he said, the screen door slid open, and he said, it was like a flood. I couldn't keep them in. He says, I'm saying, don't go out, stay in here. And he said, the more I would tell them to stay in, he said, actually everybody in the house heard me, and they flooded to the door, and they pushed me out of the way and came out on the deck. And he said, when you waved, he says, I about pissed my pants. He said, I started laughing. And so, yeah, my only pooping story. And I got in and I told Lawson and Joe that story. And Joe Weberg, he's a very dry sense of humor. And he got to laughing so hard. He said, oh, my God. He said, He said, you ain't got a hair on your butt if you don't tell that on stage tomorrow. So the next day at the tournament, I told it on stage the very next day. And so I had about 3,000 people that's heard that story before everybody here on TV land. So, but,
Okay, so I'm trying to get.
That's a great pooping story, isn't it?
Listen, no, that's as good as it gets. Because in my mind, when you're saying this, I'm trying to imagine a family sitting up there, and the best part of it all is not you taking a dump off the boat, but it's you just sticking your hand up and just waving. I thought they're watching me. I got to do something, break it, And
yeah, it was like it was scripted. Every one of them goes.
How?
They all wave back. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Commercial.
Even the little kids seen it, So, but
well, hey, listen.
See, that's a good pooping story.
It just shows you're human.
That's right.
I got one more for you.
One more.
If you've ever taken a shortcut on a lake. So there's Truman Lake, and you can take a shortcut up in these trees. And Dion might have done that with his dad's boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind.
That's a bad scenario right there.
All right, well, let's hear it then.
I've had one boat crash in my life, and Dion Hibdon was my partner that day. That was a bad deal.
No. And it was his boat?
His boat.
Oh, yeah, it was his boat, too. We fished a tournament on Truman. Well, we used to. They used to have those pin reel tournaments. First place might be 10 grand. Second place might be a house. 11th place might be a truck. It was just kind of an odd tournament, but paid out really, really good. And it was on Truman. And at that point in my life, I was winning pretty much anything they had up there. And Dad had been to the Classic in Baltimore. And he came home and I told him, I said, let's fish that pin reel deal. He said, oh man, he said, I ain't had time to rest up. I said, dude, you don't have to do nothing except run the dip net a little bit. I said, let's go whack them. I said, I've been catching them. And so needless to say, he says, well, we'll take my boat. My boat's a good bit faster. And it's when Evinrude had come out with those fast strike motors. And he said, my boat's really shitting and getting right now. He said, we'll take my boat. I said, okay, that's good. And needless to say, first day of the tournament, we go out and we catch 5 that weighs 27. And this is in August. And we catch 5 that weighs 27, caught a lot of fish. We come in, we're in second place. He's like, really? You invited me to come fish and we're in second with 27? I said, dude, they won't catch them the second day. They never do. I said, we'll catch 20 tomorrow and we'll win by 10 pounds. I said, them guys never catch them 2 days in a row. So the next day we're running down the lake and I'm in a later flight and I'm thinking as I'm going around this big, long, sweeping bend, there's a shortcut. Now this is a flooded timber lake that they flooded. I'm talking homes, gravel road, stuff like that. Well, at the end of this bluff, there's a gravel road, cuts through the trees. And it is just as you would imagine. It's about twice as wide as a boat, but it's a gravel road right through the timber. And I'm not talking just stobs. No, I'm talking full-blown woods. And I told Dad, I said, we're taking a shortcut. He's like, what? I said, yep, we're taking a shortcut. I let everybody kind of get on in front of me, and I cut down that road. And he's like, holy crap. He says, why didn't we do this yesterday? I said, I wasn't in as big a hurry. I didn't have 27 pounds. I said, wasn't in as big a hurry. I said, I'm in a hurry today. We go we're almost ready to clear the far end of it. And there's a log about that long that I see going to the nose of the boat. Just it disappears. And I clenched up. And when I clenched up, it hit. And when it hit, it just hit us just far enough that it dropped the nose down. And when the nose went down, I don't know if you ever drove a 390 Ranger, but when that nose comes down, it's going left.
It's going left.
Left-hand turn right out through the trees. We're like a pinball. We're just ricocheting off trees. Boom, boom, boom. Breaking. I mean, there's stuff falling. And we're coming off plane. And as we're coming off plane, there's a sycamore tree that I couldn't get my arms around. It's so big. And we go, bam. And we hit this sycamore. And when we do, there's trolling motor pieces. It's like shrapnel. There's pieces hitting out in the lake, 100 feet from us, and it's pieces of my Johnson trolling motor. They're going everywhere. Trolling motor's gone. Nose of the boat looks like a English bulldog, just smashed up. We come to rest, and when we come to rest, I'm just like, holy crap. I said, you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. And we hear this tree go poof, and it just popped. And when it pops, he looks up and he's like, uh-oh. And this giant tree is coming. It's going to fall right on top of us. We know, uh-oh, somebody's dying. It comes down. Well, just as it gets right to the boat, it hits another little tree, and it goes just off to the passenger side, hits in the water. There's a wall of water comes over the top of this boat that's, I don't know, it felt like it was 20 foot tall, you know. But my dad, most people knew it. My dad had a very severe comb over. Okay, his comb over was that long. I mean, at least when his hair was, before he get it all dolled up on top, it was that long. Well, that wall of water whooshed over the side of the boat, and when we come to rest, his hat is just like this, and his comb over is hanging down here, about past his boobie down this side, and I mean, he's spitting water, I'm soaking wet, and I said, "You still okay?" He's like, "Yeah." He says, "I'm okay." He said, "You're driving the anchor the rest of the day." And I said, you want to try and call and go get another boat? And he's like, "No, we're fishing out of this SOB right here." Well, a buddy of mine was about 3 boats behind us. He thought we were pulling in there to fish. He didn't realize we was crashing. No, I mean, he didn't. He came through the same cut through that I did. I knocked the log out of his way. He kept right on going, you know. He thought we was pulling in there to fish. He didn't realize we were in a catastrophic bow hook, you know, out through the woods.
He didn't notice how fast you guys made the left-hand turn?
Oh, no, not at all. He didn't pay no attention. He just kept right on going. So we take off, and one of my best friends, Walt Reynolds, owned Osage Bluff Marina. We pull in there right at daylight. There's nobody there. Marina's not open. And he's like, I said, "What do you want to do?" And he says, "You get out there and find me some damn rope." And I said, "Dad, let's go tie up to a tree." He said, "No." He said, "We're going to anchor on that first spot where them big ones are at. And there's no trees around to tie up to on it. So I have to go around." He comes back. I said, "You got to give me some money." I said, "I ain't just stealing these people's ropes off these docks, you know." And I went around to 2 or 3 different pontoons, finally found a ski rope, left them $20 for their ski rope. And that was going to be our anchor rope for the rest of the day. Went back, pulled a riprap at the launch ramp, and found a rock that now mind you, when I was young, I was a state qualifier in wrestling my junior and senior year in high school. And I was a bad man, you know, I was tough. He got a rock that I could barely get up on the nose of the boat. I could barely get it lifted in the boat. I said, "Dude, when that goes in the water, we ain't getting that one back." He said, "That's the one I want." We get it in the boat. He ties it off. We go to our best little spot where we'd caught most of 27 yesterday. And we set that anchor out. And I said, "Well, we're here now." I said, "We ain't leaving today." And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You're going to pull that up here in just a minute when I'm tired of catching them here." But anyways, we caught 5 that weighed 33 that day. And,
Gosh.
And one
After having a boat wreck.
and had a boat wreck. Came in. My wife and my mother's like, "Well, that's nice." I'm like, "Yep, happened right off the get-go this morning, you know." And I had a perfectly good boat sitting about 30 minutes away, but no, we're going to drive the anchor all day long. So, but yeah, well, I'll never forget that comb over hanging down across the front of his shirt and that old hat and him spitting water, you know. But
you know, the beautiful thing about that is we come on here every Tuesday, every Thursday night, and we're talking about forward-facing sonar and disqualifying this guy, and people don't like that guy. And we often miss the stories like that happen behind the scenes. You know, those good memories you got with your dad and everything. And I'm trying to picture you guys bouncing through trees and your dad's come over. I think we miss a lot of that.
Yeah.
I know as many people as we interview, those are the best stories to me, because that's the kind of shit we would talk about at a campfire down at the deer camp.
That's right. Why you got a bear in your hand.
That's exactly right. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know, while you're telling these stories and they're funny and all, that's what's crossing my mind we were talking about what's missing in fishing earlier in the show. And I'm like, you know what? In my mind, I'm saying, like, I have not had too many of those conversations with anybody, especially of the younger, this is not knocking the younger generation, but they don't have those stories to tell. We're talking about heroes and things like that. It's like, those are things that, that's a legendary kind of story that could grow as the years go. I mean, how do we get to that? How do we get that back into fishing?
I don't know. I hope we can someday. I really do. I hope it happens before my kids, get out of thinking about being in the sport and stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, I can't condemn anybody, the BASS, the FLW people or MLF people, I can't say how to change it, but I think they got to look at it. I think they got to step back and look at it and try to figure out how to get it back like it was a little bit. It doesn't have to be totally like it used to be, but you got to have heroes. You got your favorite football team. It's no different than your favorite pitcher in baseball and stuff like that. Or, the crazy thing about it was my dad and Earnhardt, big buddies.
Really?
Yeah. One of the other crazy things is Ricky Klung and my dad were best friends, and they were born in the same year. Me and Van Dam, very good friends, and we were born on the same year. Same age.
Right.
Kind of. I started a little bit before Kevin did. As far as in BASS, but still, and like I say, me and Peter T, we talk about it, and we lived it. We got to see it. We got to be a part of the greatest show on earth, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to bass fishing. And we got to participate. And we got to do what we felt like was the right thing. And we enjoyed it. Had a great time. I that's one thing I have no regrets about was my time in the sport. I've got sons that are just as good or better than I ever dreamed of being. And I hope they get an opportunity to do, something like what I did. But I'm afraid it's never going to be that way again, and that's sad, I grew up with my dad when I was a good wrestler in school, had a couple scholarships to go on to school and wrestle, and but I had bad knees, and so therefore, my dad told me, he said, if we're going to fish, he said, we're going to fish a lot, and we're going to make it work. And when I graduated in 85, we started fishing 4 different tournament circuits all season long, and we did that for probably 15 years. And in 88, out of the 4 circuits, he won Angler of the Year in all 4. Redman Golden Blend, U.S. Bass, 2 circuits of U.S. Bass, and BASS. He won Angler of the Year in all 4. The next year, he won Angler of the Year in 3, and in the Redman Golden Blend, I won Angler of the Year. And it's just one of those things. Do I think there'll ever be anybody that won as much as my dad did? No, not like Dad did. Not back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's just, I don't think it's possible anymore. There's too much talent as far as, a vast array of talent. Did Kevin do good? Absolutely. Kevin's freaking awesome. One of the best anglers ever to walk the planet. Ricky Klung, when they had the greatest angler debate, BASS did a deal on, the top 35 anglers ever to fish. And it came down between him and Dad. And they ended up giving the nod to Ricky because he'd won more classics than my dad. And Ricky's acceptance speech was, apparently you people didn't fish against Guido in the late 80s, early 90s. He said, because I couldn't catch he said it was unreal what he did for about a 10-year strip, and then, it got to where, he was a little bit older and it didn't mean as much to him, He would just soon see me do good, as him do good. But
Clun's a class act.
he was something, he really was. Yeah, Clun's a guy that, it's a shame to see him get out of it, but it's 500 tournaments. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. That's a lot. Yeah, but if my dad was still alive, my dad would probably still be calling them up. Hey, you need to get out of there. You're getting too old for that shit,
Right.
They had some great talks. I'm telling you right now, Mr. Redneck and then Mr. Zen, the Zen Master,
The Zen Master. That's it.
They had some discussions that I thought, oh my God, one of them's going to end up crying before it's over with, and it never
but
did.
That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
That is. It was the good stuff.
Hey, I got a question from a viewer right here, and it's from Aubrey Higgins. Aubrey, appreciate you watching. And I know I've missed some questions tonight, guys, but I've been just listening, and I hope you guys have been too. I'm just captivated by what this man's telling me. Dion, what is something you would tell young guys that are trying to get into tournament fishing? If you could give them some advice.
You gotta approach people with, helping them. You have to have help. You can't do it on your own unless your parents are independently wealthy. And when I say wealthy, I mean they better have a lot of money because it's expensive to do. It's very, very expensive. So when you approach people, don't approach them with they owe you something. Approach them with, hey, this is what I feel like I can do for you. I can help you out. Social media is huge right now. I don't do enough stuff. I have a podcast that I do on Wednesday nights, Real Unfiltered Talk. But you have to be into the social media right this minute, to really make things work. So, look at the Guggen guys. I mean, they started out a bunch of high school kids walking the ponds, and now they're an enterprise, basically because of YouTube.
Yeah.
And us, some of us old timers have a hard time with it. We have a hard time getting on board and moving on with it. If it wasn't for my wife, I probably wouldn't do it as much as I do right now. But, she tells me, she says, I can only imagine what you were like when you were fishing good, but people still want to hear you talk,
Yeah.
And,
for sure.
And that's the best avenue, that's the best avenue. So, get out there, do some good stuff on the internet. Be cordial to people, talk to people. People still want to have you talk to them, emails and text and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a big deal, but there's nothing better than making a deal face to face with a human being, and say, hey, I think I can sell your product, and that's what you have to do. You have to let them know, hey, I can help you out with this. I can sell your product. And that's how you do it. You just can't go out there. Nobody's that good a fisherman anymore. Okay. Right. There's a few good ones, but it all runs its course. It all ends up somewhere down the line. You have to be able to, take care of those sponsors. And when I was growing up, you had to. You didn't have no choice because there wasn't enough money actually in the sport, to make a lot of money. So you had to make it through doing seminars and sponsorship money and stuff like that, So, that's what you got to do, And
So
good luck. Good luck. It's not easy. I'm going to tell you that right now. I've got a 28-year-old son that, as far as I'm concerned, he's probably the best bass fisherman I've ever seen, and proves it daily, And like I say, I know how hard it is for him to think about traveling and doing stuff, So it's hard. It's not easy, but if you want it, you can keep kicking at it. I'm living proof. I kicked and scratched and clawed until I finally made it. So it happens.
So I wanted to bring up, like, your family's been modifying, making baits forever, and now there's Bojangles Baits, and so I mean Lawson and that crew is coming out with some really good stuff. So don't go to bojangles.com, you'll get chicken. But if you go to Bojangles Baits, like the Noscraw, Dirk's Diggler Wiggler, they got some names here Danny's gonna like. The Trickster, the Bowcraw, Jungle Tailed, Log Hog, which is really a unique brush hog kind of bait. But
did you say Jungle Tail?
There is a Jungle Tail.
I like some Jungle Tail.
All right. Yours is a little spermy. You
little
eat the Dirk's
spermy.
Diggler Wiggler.
I don't discriminate.
Yeah. But I want to make sure that like Lawson and those guys, it's a new company. I bought baits from them, caught them over in Alabama, and I've used them on Lanier, and just wanted to give Dion a chance to talk about that company.
Bojangles is just, they're a small company right now, but they make soft plastics. We're going to eventually make some jigs and different things to go along with it. But basically we make a lot of different soft plastics. That's kind of what made my dad popular over the years. And we make fishable tackle, stuff that people want to fish with. And we come up with new stuff daily, and one of the other nice things is the colors. We can make any color. I can match anything. I can't. Bo Harris, the owner, him and Lawson can make absolutely anything. And we find that that's kind of our niche a little bit, is we're making special colors for other people. And if you can send it to me, we can make it for the most part. And other than that, we make a lot of good fishable tackle, stuff like that. We're just now getting it expanded out. It's mainly Lawson and Bo, and we're just now getting expanded out good, where I went down, spent a couple of days at Kentucky Lake, got the stuff down there. In this part of the world here around Missouri, everybody knows about it. It's just good fishing tackle. You can get out of hand trying to invent the wheel, and then you have to invent functional tackle to have in your
right.
boat and to fish with. And that's something that we've done. We're fishing with this stuff daily, and we're catching fish on it. We're adding new colors. We're adding new baits as we grow. We're adding new stuff, and like I say, look us up, Bojangles.
Okay.
He posted the Bama Bug and the Tramp stamp today. So
the Bama Bug and the Tramp stamp. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So hey, listen, Dion. I know. It's not late where you're at, but it's getting late here. I want to ask you one more question before we let you go tonight, and it's this was from a buddy of mine. Given that and this is on forward facing sonar, I've tried to stay away from it all night, but this is a good question. With the MPFL banning forward-facing sonar, an old soul like you that has done it the old-fashioned way, does that get your kind of competitive juices flowing? Is that something you would ever consider coming back and trying to fish?
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, there's a chance. I went through, like I told you earlier in the show, I went through a deal, this last winter that should have killed me. And so I'm on the road to recovery. I'm feeling good now. I'm doing good. But yeah, I can see me maybe getting back out there and trying it again. I grew up fishing with my best friend, and I would like to do that with my sons a little bit more. I would love to do that with my sons, and so, yep, to whatever possibility. Yep, I wouldn't mind doing it. There's a big reason I don't even try for the elites, and that's you got to fish all those opens to qualify. And I don't have that kind of desire to fish that many damn tournaments. Hell, I'm old. I want to go home every now and then, sleep with the wife, that type of deal.
Right.
Bump uglies with wife periodically. That's my deal. I mean, everybody thinks it. I just said it. We just gotta, we gotta figure out, how to do it. The MPFL, a buddy of mine helps run it. I'm very excited about it. Do I think it's made a statement? I think everybody needs to stay in their lane. Guess what? if you don't want to do that, fish the elites or fish
Yeah.
the MLF. You know, if you don't want to fish the MPFL, fish the MPFL. Don't make a big issue out of it just because you can on the internet. You know, it
right.
doesn't matter. The thing of it is we've let a lot of our industry get away from us. Patrick Walters probably put out the best statement about the whole shooting match of anybody I've ever seen after the day after MPFL made the deal, that they put it out there. And his main deal was that in this day and age, the electronics companies, all of them, are making a bigger killing than they ever have in the history of our sport. And they're paying less anglers now than they ever have.
Yeah. I remember that statement.
Mm-hmm. Now they're paying the tournament organizations. Not one of them. It used to be each one had their own person. Now all three of them are just paying for advertisement on both circuits, and they're using all of that money, what used to sponsor a few tournament fishermen, and they just don't anymore.
Yeah.
And the live scope deal, he explains it also about his company that he's with, Rapala. He said Rapala's made some innovations in their stuff in the last 3 or 4 years that it has changed crankbaits, changed it forever. And he said, but if it wasn't for Crush City selling a mooch minnow that has 7 baits in the package for like $6, he said they could put Rapala out of business. That's how poor business is, because nobody's buying crankbaits. They're buying a 7-pack of mooch minnows. And he said the crazy thing about it is, he says, I'm sponsored by them. And he said, I don't know how to change it. He said, I don't know how to make it better. He said, because I might take two whole tournaments and only use 1 box of mooch minnows live scoping. He said, we're just not spending the money on fishing anymore, and he's right. I actually was working in a tackle store part-time, before I got sick, and I see it. People are not buying tackle, they're just not buying it, but they're going to spend $3,000 or $4,000 on an electronics unit so they can see their bait fall to the bottom, and it's the greatest technology possibly ever to come in bass fishing. Okay. But we have to look at it as they've made it to where it's just not fun to freaking watch. And I mean, I can't put it no other way. You guys, you 3 guys are educated bass anglers. You guys are as educated bass anglers as I get to talk to on a daily basis. Name me 5 of the new guys right off the top of your head.
Of the new guys?
Of the new guys right now. The guys on the Elite Tour that are making a splash. Can you name 5?
Okay, so McKinney, G,
Hamner.
Got 2 left.
Hold on a second, damn it, I'm old.
And that's 2 of you teaming up.
Well, I got 2, Ryan got 1.
But you understand.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
If I would have asked you that 10 years ago, you could have given me 20. You could have given me 20 premier fishermen, and now you just can't. You just can't do it now. And there's something, like I said, I don't have the answers, but somebody needs to figure that out. Somebody with a bigger brain pan than me needs to figure out how we get those guys to be superstars, tournament of superstars, and I don't know how to do it in this day and age. I really don't. I wish I did. I wish I did, because
I got something real quick. So you might remember this, Dion. I think it was the 2008 or 2007 Clear Lake, when it was like Oprah Winfrey, you get 100 pounds, you get 100 pounds, you get 100 pounds. That was like, that put Steve Kennedy really in the national spotlight. Him throwing that big old Osprey swim bait. Skeet Reese. Everyone, you may have seen it you probably have Gerald Swindle going up there to that one little point up there at the mouth of that little pocket. And, you know, so I'm going to go over here and look for hammerhead. And he throws a jig up there and he catches it and it's over 10. And then there were several other instances during that time from like 2007 to like 2010 where it was like what you were saying. There was, you can name 20, 25 guys right off the top of your head like that. And you're right. It's hard to, maybe I guess it's like the moments from years ago seem to stick out hard. They seem to have a greater impact on people that bass fish and want to bass fish competitively than watching these elite tournaments now, where you don't necessarily have to watch it. But if you're a tournament head like me, I just basically kind of look at the results from day to day. That's just kind of my
what you're saying is you don't get the Polaroid moment or the memorable moment in a tournament these days,
right?
That they used to get in times past.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that might
do you agree or disagree with that, though?
What do you think about that, Dion?
I agree. I agree with it. It's, and like I said, I wish I could give you all, I wish I could give you all the answers, because I wish I had them. I really do. I wish I could talk to somebody, I really want to sit down and have a beer with Ricky and say, Ricky, what do you think? And I want to do the same thing with Justin Hamner or one of them, and say, guys, what do you think we can do to make this work? I would be willing to talk and do whatever, whatever it takes, because this is a sport that I love. I mean, I've never had a real job in my life. I basically fished my whole life. And right now, I can't say I would even want to do it, and it's just, it's different, and like I say, I feel bad for some of these young guys, because I don't foresee them ever being the heroes. No matter how much they win, I don't think it's going to ever come back. And that's sad. That's sad, because everybody deserves to walk into a Walmart store and have somebody go, hey, oh, there's Dion. Look at there, or walk into Alabama. My mother lives on Logan Martin Lake. I can go in the grocery store and people like, holy crap, I watched the tournament that you won, in 97. It's just, that's a feeling that you never, ever get over. I mean, that is so special to me,
Like Takahiro.
Yeah.
Like Takahiro Omori winning the Classic, barely knows much English, but everybody knows my pounder.
And the crazy thing about it is, does it in 10 minutes worth of fishing.
Yeah.
That was cool to watch. I mean, holy crap, he finally figured it out and did it in about the last 15 minutes of the day, and it's not that Taku or whatever his name is, that's, that wears, the only way I can recognize him is because he wears a gray rain suit and you never see his face. That's the only way I know. Okay. You never look at that man's face. The only time you see his face is when he's holding up a blue trophy.
Yeah.
But before that, in the 4 days of the tournament, you never see that kid's face. It's just crazy. And there's, you got to work on that. Somebody's got to figure that out.
That's a damn good point. I just want to let you know that, the last stop on the 2025 MPF Trail is Lake of the Ozarks.
October 20th and 25th, right after the Big Bass Bash.
It might set up right for you, man.
They're lucky we can't get in them. See, they don't let jackpotters in that.
Is that it? Oh,
that's that's one of the cool things about MPFL. You got to pay ahead of time, the year ahead of time, so they keep the jackpotters out. And I'm all for that. Because they don't want this kind of pain.
All right, Ryan.
Better yet, they don't want my 28-year-old son fishing it either. So, but we had the opportunity. Big Al told us about it last year, and at that point in time, we didn't have the money, and about 10 days after he told us about it, I went in the hospital. And so
Well, maybe we can make that happen. Ryan's got one more thing before I let you go.
I got one last question. You've thrown his name out there.
Well, we got a couple of them. So
we do.
Hang around.
I'm not going to change the camera. I'm just going to throw this out here. You've mentioned your best friend's name multiple times, Peter T.
Yes, sir.
Do you know that he has a record on Lake Lanier?
A record on Lake Lanier?
What is it?
Yes. He still has the show bass record for Lake Lanier. He caught it in 1997.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you remember that? Were you around, or was that okay?
Yeah, I made
the show bass is something on Lanier that doesn't get talked about a whole lot.
I won Classic in '97.
What did you say?
I didn't hear. What did you say?
I said I won the Classic in '97. Of course, I fished.
Oh yeah, that's
you can't qualify unless you fish. So yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I didn't know if it was in one of those tournaments or if it was in a different tournament he fished.
You guys need to work on your tech guy a little bit. He's got to get his facts straight. I mean, you know.
I will tell you this though. He's of the three of us, he's the one that knows 99.9% of the facts. I just like to talk to people, and all I am is a conduit to bring people together. So if I really have to, if I need a fact, Ryan is the one I definitely am going to go to.
I had to call my wife to learn how to turn this thing up so I could hear y'all.
No doubt, seriously, that's
why
I
I can just barely use my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the other question? Who's the other person?
One quick question. I got a comment. Can you tell Danny, he loves throwing plastics, why you like throwing something with a flat side on it?
Because it glides.
It glides.
It doesn't.
What the hell are we talking about?
It doesn't fall straight up, straight down. We've actually got the Guido bug was always a big deal. Our crawdad always had a flat side, and when I pitched it into a buck bush, like a buck bush, and you go in, as it falls down, it doesn't fall in the same spot anytime because it's got a flat side on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the flat side also makes it skip better.
Yep.
There you go. All right, what's your comment?
Last little thing I got, and this basically for those that watching, make sure you get some of these jigs at Baitworks. They're an excellent jig. I got a bunch of them in my box at the house for a reason.
Yeah.
And then Bojangles Baits. Check them out.
Is there a possibility of me getting Bojangles Baits in my tackle shop?
Absolutely.
Well, hell, let's talk. We'll talk. I'll shoot you a text about it tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah, all you gotta do is send me a deal, and we'll send you all the stuff and send you a care package and everything, whatever.
There you go. All right, what else?
And then Wednesday nights, you get to see the Real Unfiltered with
Dion.
Yeah, Facebook is honestly one of the best ways to watch it, but they have a good time. But it is literally common sense fishing, answering people's questions, and it's a great show. So they just started this year, and
oh my Lord,
definitely something to watch on Wednesday.
Hey, Dion Woo Dave says you're looking good.
Hey, he is the one that actually taught me in Grandpa Pigeons in Arnold, Missouri, what reel to buy to make sure I fished a Carolina rig super, super slow. And that was Woo Daves. He spent 30 minutes with me making sure I fished a Carolina rig correctly.
Well, I'll be damned. Woo Daves, I appreciate you joining us. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite sayings is when Woo says, bass ain't got no hands. If you feel something, guess where it's at?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I tell you, hey, listen, Dion, first of all, thank you very much for taking some time to join us. I know, seriously, and I'm not lying when Ken has been telling me for the last 2 months, we got to get you on. We got to get you on. And I've enjoyed it because, oftentimes on this show, we're asking the anglers what to throw here and what to throw there. But, you came with stories and everything. And again, I think that's what's missing in the industry today is having guys like you that have been around, but that can share the stories, the behind the scenes stuff that, does not get talked about near as much today. I definitely can tell how you feel about your family. And that's good to see that coming through the lens and all that. And I hope, we can get you back on, another time, because hell, I probably could talk to you all night, but I know you probably got things to do, it's probably summertime there. Well, I tell you what,
boys, you guys call me anytime. I mean, I enjoy talking and talking to the people and like I say, I know this is a big part of our sport and spreading a little bit of awareness. And if I got a story that makes somebody chuckle, that's all that matters to me.
Well, you did me.
My
You
dad,
did me.
my dad was the greatest storyteller ever. And his way of putting it was, he said, you got to make them laugh, you got to make them cry, and you got to make them want more.
Good advice. Good advice. That's what we're gonna. That's our motto from now on. I'm gonna steal that from you. So, hey, listen, I got your number. I'll be in touch with you. But seriously, thank you for spending some time with us. And
You bet, you boys.
I'll hit you tomorrow about some of them baits. How about that?
All right, sounds good.
All right, man. Appreciate you. And
Thank
guys,
you.
hey, listen. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Van Halen does rock. Public service announcement. Guys, listen. First time I ever talked to the man was tonight, and I tell you what, like, you could just feel it. You could just feel it. So I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as well. And this Thursday, we're going to do more of a local flavor. We're going to have Ryan actually going to come back on. We're going to talk about the fall transition. I've been talking to all these really important people, and I feel like we've been kind of shunning the locals a little bit, and we don't want to do that. So Lake Lanier, all these lakes getting ready to start turning over. Got to get ready for it. So join us Thursday night for that. Go home and watch your debate, highlights if you want to do that. I'm sure social media will be full of them, but join us Thursday night. We appreciate you guys. And again, great to see you guys in the comment section. But this guy talked so good, he made my job so easy tonight. And that was one of the easiest shows I've ever done. So I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. We'll catch you on the next one.